Hi everyone, this is Henry from I At Last, and welcome to Enigma Media.
Ah, man. Ich krieg mal warm.
It didn't take that long to make me fall. I'm bleeding back against the wall. You're screaming for something to change, and I don't want to see you fall. You're a victim of an endless role, so you're leaving our lives once again. Let's go, I'm waiting for a leap of faith. This will be the last time that you ever scream my name. So help me see, 'cause we all deserve change. Help me breathe, 'cause I'm going insane. These sleepless nights melting.
What up, headbangers? How you doing? I'm Rob O'Day.
I'm Norm Mathers.
Welcome to Enigma Media. Today we're chilling with Children of Atom out of Spokane, Washington. How you guys doing?
Good. How you guys? Good.
We're good. He made me just cry from laughing by making stupid faces in the camera for about 5 minutes. So I've almost got my composure back. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and let us know how the band started?
Well, I'm Josh. I play the drums.
My name's Miles. I'm the bass player.
I'm Michael. I play guitar and sing.
I'm Shane, and I play keyboards.
Ooh, sick.
And I started a band with some buddies 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, something like that. And they're not here, but these guys are now. And so we've been doing this lineup for a couple years, and just kind of met through the music scene and through the mutual friends and stuff, and added Shane most recently on keyboards. And
That's a trippy element. You guys have like such a cool style. I was tempted to introduce you from Capital Wasteland because I had a feeling that you guys are all Fallout fans. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Fallout fans, and actually the name was originally from X-Men, actually.
Oh really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was like instantly, I'm like, I fucking love Fallout. I think I said
Oh, yeah,
that in
that's
one of
right.
it's like such a good game. Your guys' style is super fucking groovy. And your latest release, Mississippi Queen, is pretty fucking tasty. What made you guys create this kind of a style, modern day, and having like wicked fucking rock?
Blues elements.
Yeah, it's unique.
I like that we all looked at Mike. We're like, yeah, tell us.
I don't know. I always loved like metal, and I loved, just like hard rock in general. But I also love to hear rock that kind of makes you shake your ass too a little bit, and gives you something to dance to and groove to. So, it's just a lot of like funk influences and stuff like that. They kind of feed into that, and that's pretty much it. I just like to make people dance and have a good time, and
Having that
rock
heavy
doesn't
edge.
always, yeah, exactly. Rock doesn't always mean you gotta, beat everybody around you up. Sometimes you can
Chill.
groove.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It's funny because we play a really heavy style of metal, and he always seems to put in like some funky ass bass line in some parts, and you're just like, you can't help it. If you can put it in, you're putting it in.
Bring the bass.
Right. Bass is it's all about funk too. I think if you have like a bassist who doesn't understand groove, it's not going anywhere. Like people always overlook bass players, and I'm like, nah, man, bassist, you have to find a good bassist.
Bass in the drums, that's where the groove comes from.
Exactly right. And it's always funny to see a bass player and a drummer too, because they always have like this weird sync where they're like
Looking at each
they're on
other.
they're on their own level.
I try as hard as I can not to look at him, but
Right.
I make it a point to awkwardly stare at my drummer.
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah. If I'm gonna give him contact, it's gonna be awkward.
For everyone.
That's fucking awesome. Are you guys in the midst of working on an EP or a full length at all?
We're pretty much finishing up a full length. It was originally going to be an EP, and at this point, it's kind of just become a full length. We got about halfway through it, kind of recording with some other guys and stuff like that, and since we've kind of taken the mantle of producer as well, and kind of started doing stuff in-house with everything, closed up, and us having so much time where we can't, get out there and play shows and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's been a ton of fun. Just kind of learning the ins and outs of recording ourselves and mixing and, getting that all put together. So that, of course, makes the time frame it's going to release a little fuzzy for us because, we're trying to just take our time and do it right. But
And we're all gearheads, so that's been really fun to just, drain all of our bank accounts slowly on things that we're like, I think we need this.
no, we definitely need that. We need this real hard right
Yeah, we've only got 2 of these. We need 3 just in case.
now. Yeah, exactly.
What's it
Yeah.
going to hurt to find another SM58?
Yeah,
Right.
why not?
Yeah, no, it's funny because it is the way that today is done with music. It's self done, and I like the independence. I just think that I wish that being independent, you could get out there easier.
Yeah.
I guess to
Yeah.
say, because it's hard to do. It's hard to get out there, especially now with people's attention span. I think that's like a reoccurring thing on the show is that people's attention span is just like terrible nowadays.
Yeah.
Like they just want a single versus to sit and listen to a whole album. That's where I'm an
Well-
album junkie.
You look at TikTok and a lot of the music that's being generated on there, like you can get pretty popular on TikTok, but it's like 15-second clips of a track. And so people are only really writing for that quick 15 seconds to get people's attention and get it shared and reshared. And
Yeah.
so our attention span's growing ever shorter.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's absolutely it's heartbreaking as an artist because you put so much time and effort into making music and like working on your style, and people don't even want to give you a time of day to hear it. It's a sad thing where music used to be so influential in culture. Now it's just kind of like, whatever.
And the days of a full concept album are completely gone.
Oh yeah,
Which is a
completely.
huge bummer because I love listening to music like that where it's just like kind of this cohesive, long, experience, like Pink Floyd records, and it's like everything kind of runs together and it's meant to be, all one piece that you throw on the turntable and let play out. And so it's definitely difficult, being a fan of music like that to kind of chop it into like, okay, this is the song, and then this is kind of the fluff, this is all the other stuff that we want to do. So
When you're writing concept records, it teeters on writing music for musicians nowadays.
Yeah.
Like your fan base is definitely other people who play.
Right, and I think that's what it is in general. Just like even if you write a normal album, it's for musicians at this point. Even when you're performing, sometimes you're performing just to the other bands.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a weird concept. I don't like the way the world's running, but I think it'll change after COVID for sure.
Oh yeah, I think people are itching to really get out there and go to shows. Like there was a kind of a bigger show that was supposed to go on next month, and the promoter wanted to charge like $35 a ticket, and it's all local bands, and so that's pretty steep for a local show, even with like 10 plus bands. But I talked to quite a few people, and they were still like, "Oh, $35, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I want to see a show so bad, I'll pay
right?
$35."
And that kind of gives me hope.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. How is the scene in Spokane? Like I have friends in Spokane, but I've never they're not musicians. I've always been curious.
There's not as many trees as you'd think there. Oh wait,
It's hard. It's really weird sometimes because it gets really cliquey in certain genres, and then like certain areas of town, like the punks play over here, the metal guys play over here, and there's not a lot of crossover in a lot of ways.
every now and again you do get the promoter that tries to utilize the crossover. Like you'll have one promoter that deals with a lot of punk and a lot of thrash metal or a lot of leaning towards deathcore, and then you have a totally different promoter that's like they just do underground, like any kind of like just punk band that's just not as popularized, and it varies from venue to venue, so it's pretty diverse.
Yeah, I describe it a lot like Spokane's music scene is made up of a bunch of tiny music scenes for different genres, you know, like there's a small scene for just about everybody, but there's not a whole lot of bumping together, I've noticed, which is kind of a shame, because I feel like we could do a lot more, have a lot better places to play, and, you know, just have better opportunities for everybody if we kind of join together a little bit. Sometimes that's kind of hard to do.
Well,
Yeah,
especially
no.
right now with a lot of venues closing down, there's a lot fewer places to play when there used to be quite a few.
Yeah, it's like Kelowna. Like we
We
lost.
we play a few places around here, you know, but a lot of times anymore we just try to focus on playing out of town because
Yeah.
in a lot of ways that's kind of more fun anyways, you know. It's like you kind of get out there and hang out with different people and do different things.
Yeah. What's the population of Spokane?
Oh man, you're
Over
throwing,
100,000.
yeah, throwing out numbers. I don't even have a clue. I don't even.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering. I'm trying to relate it to where we live in the Okanagan because it's just like we're just north of you guys in BC, and it sounds almost identical to our music scene.
Yeah.
It's very clicky.
Like biggest city in or something.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
we're the second biggest in Washington, definitely.
Hmm.
But I think it's well over 100,000, especially if you count Spokane Valley.
Yeah, yeah, I could see it
I
being
don't know, man,
around-
I've been in my house for like a year. I don't know how many people are in this town.
Yeah, no, it sounds like the Okanagan, and I think that's a sad fact is that there is no crossover with bands because I definitely know that there's a metal scene, and the metal scene is pretty tight with the bands that are in it. But to like have a rock band come to a death metal show doesn't really happen.
Yeah, it's weird. With my other band, we've definitely done that show where there was like 3 death metal bands, and then we were kind of more of a psychedelic jammy kind of band, and it didn't go over very well.
Mm-hmm.
But the other bands were pretty cool to us. Just the audience was kind of like not expecting it at all.
Yeah, it's a weird time for music too. I mean, I was just looking at an article that my girlfriend actually sent me, and it's about I think like funding for musicians because we're one of the hardest hit industries out of everything that's happened.
And worst represented, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, especially right now with streaming, it's like it's absolute garbage what we get paid. It's almost not even about ever getting paid, and it doesn't. And it sounds bad. I know every musician will say that. Like, you know, every band will be like, "It's not about the money," but your guys are gearheads. How much money have you invested into your career? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice to see after 20 years of playing a paycheck for $100.
Yeah.
You know, like that puts a smile on a person's face, and I think that that's underrated now, where musicians used to be so high class. You know, they used to look at like Slash as like the fucking god. Now they look at us like we're nothing. And
Yeah.
record labels also used to look for emerging bands, I think, or they don't do that now.
Yeah, they were pretty much looking for bands that are already established, and then saying, "Oh, you guys are already independently making your own money. Yeah, now you can come with us.
Yeah.
You've already done all the groundwork yourself." It's like, well,
At that point, we just want to stay independent
yeah, really. If
and
we're already
keep all
doing
your
it ourselves.
profits.
Yeah, it's a weird concept because it's really hard for bands nowadays too. You have to be really good at marketing, and like you have to learn a whole new strategy than just an instrument and singing and booking tours and shows. And I never had to deal with marketing like I do now before with other bands, like at all.
You have to wear so many hats now and just basically know how to run a business on top of, you know, all the artistic stuff that you have to put into it. Just the
Mhm.
time, you know, it's
On
a
top of
lot of investment.
On top of your 9-to-5 job that you have to run as
Yeah.
well, because you want all your gear and everything as well.
Yeah,
Food
you
is
don't-
good too, you know.
Yeah,
Building a
food.
brand, marketing said brand, making new products to sell that aren't just, you know, like that are like, oh, that sticker on that water bottle makes me think of that thing.
No, it's weird, and you used to be able to make money off the music.
Yeah.
You put a CD and people would be like, "Oh, I want to buy it," and now it's like, "Oh, we've got to find ways to make money because our music isn't making money, so we got to become a clothing brand and and a YouTube channel and
Come
a
out with your own
Instagram."
beer.
Yeah, and there's a couple bands that we've interviewed that literally have come out with their own beers because it's a way to make income. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's smart, but at the same time, it's like we shouldn't be forced to go to that lengths as a musician. Like if we wanted to be a business owner, fuck yeah. But we're musicians, we're bands. We want to do our dream, and our dream is music.
Yeah.
Not sitting on Facebook trying to market to people.
Well, yeah, at a certain point, you become Gene Simmons and you try to put your name on everything. We got Children of Atom condoms. We got Children of Atom caskets. We got
Exactly. And that's like, at one point, do you just say enough's enough and just go back to just saying, fuck it, we're just going to play to small venues. And if we just do it happily, we're happy.
yeah,
I think it'd be cool to see, I think it'd be cool to see it turn into a job where they're just like, yeah, okay, you guys aren't a shitty band. Like, you're established enough that we're going to give you a paycheck. You have to continue doing what you're doing, but now it's a job for you. You know what I mean? And I think if we got enough of us to stick together and like petition that shit, we should totally do that. Like, you know what? Fuck it. We're totally doing it. It'd be nice
well, I
to
know
see.
the west side of our state, they have a musicians union, but the east side doesn't quite have it. But I don't know what all goes into the union or how many people are actually a part of it, but they have an established union over there.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely want to see if we have that. I don't know if we do. I doubt we do. We have a really harsh, like our art committee, I guess, our art scene, the people who put on that kind of stuff. I don't know what they're called. They're pretty good. I mean, they're really good with grants for tours and stuff if you are established enough, like I said, but like you have to be able to write a grant, and that's a whole other level. That's not being that writing a grant is a whole fucking other beast to tackle. And it's one of the only ways to get funding for a tour unless you want to pay it out of your ass.
Yeah.
And then it's a weird, it's fucked up. I always say it's a weird world, but it's obvious because I mean we just dealt with a year of lockdown straight, which we never thought would happen. So I think in the future things will change, and I think because there's such a flooded market, and you've got record labels that are basically reaching out and trying to grab everything they can right now to keep afloat because they fucked up on their model. I think that things will change, and I definitely think that emerging bands like us will have that spotlight again, like they did back in the day. And
Yeah.
it'll be nice.
It'll have to change to some degree if people want to keep music around, you know?
Yeah.
Like you
Right.
see a lot of, you know, like artist heavy, you know, cities like becoming, you know, the cost of living going up too high to where you can't really have that artist community there anymore. And you see that happen in a lot of places, you know, and there's gotta be bounce back, you know.
Mhm.
If there's less musicians, there's less music out there, people are suddenly gonna miss it. And when they do, that's where the money comes in, you know.
We'll be waiting for them.
Pretty much, yeah. I'll be here.
Yep. I definitely think people are going to appreciate live music a lot more here pretty soon when stuff starts opening back up. I think they're going to see a flood to a lot of that live music stuff.
But do you think it's going to be lining the pockets of the big established bands like they were prior? Because I mean, the scene around here, people wouldn't pay $10 to see 3 bands in a night, but they had no problem shelling out $100 or $120 to see Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of, you know, something you deal with everywhere, but you know, I think just the opportunities of how much there are going to be people out there playing, you know, I think trying to book a tour in the next year or two is going to be real interesting endeavor because of how booked up everything's going to be from just people being off for so long, you know. So I think people will have more opportunity to go to shows, and I think that might really, you know, help a lot with that. People want to get out of the house anyways, you know, they got a little more excuse to get off Netflix and get out of the house. So
I think that it's going to be a lot different when it comes to having less bands, because even just where we've seen like a lot of local bands have just kind of hung up the towel.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It's really gonna come down to the bands that learned how to adapt, and with their like I said, with the marketing and how to work from home. And yeah, there's definitely gonna be a weeding of the bands that weren't in it for the long run, I guess you could say.
For bands who are more established but have day jobs, and maybe they're winding down and having kids, maybe thinking about maybe this isn't what they want to keep doing. I'm seeing some bands kind of hanging up the towel with that, or I'm seeing bands who weren't established and were just kind of starting out, but they don't know how to adapt to this, so then they just kind of fizzle out and they're just done. So,
and how many musicians were there who this was their full-time gig, and then all of a sudden their money just cuts right off because they couldn't tour anymore, they couldn't play shows. I think it's going to be almost easier for the people that have the 9-to-5 jobs who are just emerging, and we've been working the game the whole time. It's like, okay, well, how do we market better? We need more content, we need this, we need that.
I mean, it depends on how many subscribers they have on their YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that really needs to change is stop looking at the numbers of likes and subscribers and listen to the music. There's the one thing that drives me fucking nuts is when you're like, there was a band we just interviewed, they're out of high school, and the singer had nailed it so perfectly. He's like, I'll tell people I'm in a band, and the first thing they ask me is how many likes I have, as if that it judges how good my music is.
How good it is, yeah.
And I'm like, this kid's 17 and he's dealing with it, and he's dealing with like the younger crowd. And I'm like, how is the scene with them? And they're like, there really isn't a scene for kids our age coming to shows. So it's really weird. We have to almost like take it back into our own hands and start doing like those Renegade shows where you like rent a small venue, like a church or something, and put on an all ages show to bring in the younger crowd, to bring in like some like rejuvenation into the scene. Because
get a generator, drive into the woods.
Exactly, right? Like put on Booney concerts where you got 10 bands, and I think it's gonna go back to that, which is cool because that was like 10-15 years ago, like Rustic Robot days. Like fuck yeah. But I think that I think our music will definitely be appreciated more after COVID, because even with the amount of bands that are able to put their shit on Spotify, you can get 300 likes, you can get 3,000 likes, you can get 30,000 likes, but how many of those are coming to your show?
Yeah.
It's about local. It's about where you are in that area, and that you can't do that without performing.
Yep.
You can't reach out to people in certain areas that are going to come to your show unless you've met them, they've watched you play, they fall in love with you as a person, you know what I mean? Kind of a thing. So it's, I can't wait to perform, because like a year is too much.
Oh yeah.
I've never had a year off unless I willingly chose to stop doing music for a couple of years, but I'll never stop. But I mean, I got like a kid on the way. He's got 2 kids. We're never going to stop. We want to do this as a lifestyle. So I think we're like the main marketers besides our guitar player in our band. So we had to adapt and come up with new schemes and new ways to like get people's attention, because you have 30 seconds, if that, with a swipe, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. And the worst thing is a video. If like Facebook stopped your YouTubes, so like you have to upload a video for every single thing now, instead of being able to just like share one link to wall, and they're making it harder for us. So I think that it'd be cool to see someone create either a new website that was like MySpace, like we had back in the day, where like bands got fucking huge from, but was merged with like Spotify and YouTube. So it was for musicians by musicians, and that's where you went and found your music. I think that is what needs to happen.
Yeah, something.
How has besides not performing, how has COVID affected you guys? Have you guys been able to record and get as much you wanted done?
I mean, we could always get more done. You know?
Yeah. No, I understand that.
We've been able to get quite a bit done, just not, having really any other obligations, so we have done a lot of recording. Like I said, we really just kind of got into the game of recording ourselves. So it's been a lot of trial and error, and a lot of, sending mixes back and forth, and just trying to get it right and figure out our process and stuff. So as far as that's concerned, we've got a ton of stuff done. We've done quite a bit of writing kind of towards, just kind of newer stuff. So, I mean, in that sense, it's been, helpful in a way,
But I think a negative is it's definitely given us like a chance to kind of relax, which always isn't really good. Yeah. Because last year we had like a record deal kind of in the works, and a deadline set, and a tour planned, and we were like, okay, we got to get this done now. We got to do this, so we're focused and we're like zeroed in. And then after that kind of fell through, we're like, well, we can take an extra month to get this done. Well, let's take another month to get this done.
Yeah.
Let's check that recording again. I don't know if that mix is right.
And then we dealt with some internal struggles. So then we had to kind of change course and reset, and then kind of re-go over everything that we've gone through at that point in time to make sure, is this what we're happy with putting out? Is this what we want? And then I mean, I feel like in the last 8 months we've probably made the most progress out of the entire, well, I think I've been in 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, just in the last 8 months, just going over all the old material, going back over new material that is, we have no set release on, making sure that this record's exactly what we're all on the same page with. And it's been a lot of fun. It's challenging, but I mean, we wouldn't do it if it wasn't a struggle.
Right. And I think that's a thing that most people don't understand is how dedicated musicians are. I think we're like the hardest working people out there, realistically. And I mean, it's not physical, but it's, you wake up and from the moment you wake to the moment you sleep, you're working. Whether it's thinking of a new song, thinking about what you got to do, recording, marketing, talking to people, going over songs, telling your bandmates that they're dumb. You know what I mean? Like it's an all day thing and it never stops. It becomes like a weird marriage that you can't ever get rid of and you don't want to. But it's like a weird connection that bands have. And I don't think people get it. I think they look at us, a lot of people look at musicians like they're either lazy or they're just like, you know, they don't want a job because they want to play music. Motherfucker, do you know how hard it is to book a show? You ever tried to book a tour? You know how much money instruments cost? You know what I mean? It's
And
not
loading
just,
gear.
yeah, right? Carrying fucking drums around, man. You come carry my goddamn hardware bag. You know what I mean? Like, that thing weighs like 200 fucking pounds.
Yeah.
I'm carrying that every venue out of the car. No, people don't understand what we deal with just to play for 5 people and have so much fun playing for those 5 people.
Yep.
And they would look at us like we're crazy, and they don't ever know like the euphoria you get when you're on stage. It's like a high. You're just like next level. And I think that's what makes us so unique. And I think that's why people love musicians and used to love musicians as much as they did. And I think it's died. I'm openly gonna say because of electronic music. And I love electronic music, but it killed the band love mentality because now you just have to love one artist. You have to love the DJ. You have to love that. You know what I mean? You don't fall in love with John Bonham or Robert Plant. You know, you don't fall in love with members like you used to or the whole band in general. And I think it's a sad case. If there was anything in the industry that you guys could change, what do you think it would be?
Oh man.
Yeah, where on the list should we start?
Yes.
I guess just kind of, I mean, really what we've been kind of hitting on this whole interview, like, you know, making sure that people are getting paid and can do it as a job. And, you know, the amount I can contribute to writing a song when I have to work a 9 to 5 compared to the amount I can contribute to, you know, music when that's my job. Obviously the quality is gonna, you know, be impacted by that. So, you know, I think the more we really stop looking at it as this like commodifiable thing that we have to, you know, keep the numbers up and make the money and get the singles out, maybe we should, be throwing a little more money at it to get something worth, you know, worth somebody spending their whole life doing, you know, like the artists that you're talking about used to do, you know, like Jimmy Page didn't have to go to his day job. Like he got to write music, he got to produce albums, he got to, you know.
Yeah, that was his day job. He was a studio musician in the late 50s, early 60s for years, and he worked at his parents' bookstore, I think, on downtime. So
right, it's weird. I definitely think music needs to stop being a popularity contest. I don't know when that happened, but at one point it became like who could be more popular, and that makes you have good music. And I'm like, I always wonder who makes the top 10s, because like you always hear like, oh, here's #1 by so and so, and you've never fucking heard of them.
Yeah.
And then they last for like 2 days and then they're gone.
Gone, yeah.
Stop fucking, that's like eating candy or McDonald's over eating like a genuine fucking barbecued burger. Just stop eating shit and look for something tasty, you know, like put the extra effort into eating healthy. it's the same way with music. Our palette for music has changed, and I think we need to like bleach our mouths and then like kind of like fucking just like restart with new taste buds.
Yeah, well, like we were saying before, where labels only focus on bands that are already popular to pick up, getting them to look more at the bands that have potential and boosting them instead.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, people only want to talk about musicians who are popular now. They don't care about how like that music, the lasting power of that music or the quality of that music. It's just like, oh, who's popular now? Who are we talking about right now?
Could you imagine if?
What are my friends like?
Yeah, what are my friends like?
All right. Could you imagine if that's how the mentality was when Woodstock was around? Like it would never have happened. People would have looked at them and like fucking hippies. Not a chance Woodstock would have been so successful. And like it's a sad thing because that was so revolutionary in history, you know. And then you look at the music that was written during like everything, any war in history. It's like it's always so empowering music, and it's like after like 2010, it just kind of went downhill, and I don't know where or what the like catalyst was, but at some point it went downhill, and I think it's like it's in the midst of its like Middle Ages in the music industry kind of a thing where we're like the industry is the church and they're in control of everything, and eventually people kind of like take over again. So I'm waiting for that to happen, and I definitely think within the next 6 months we will see that opening of the world and the new emergence of all these bands. Like it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, it'll be amazing to start doing shows again. Like, pretty sure I'll cry after a set. I'm like feeling that emotional anticipation. Like, oh my god.
Right. If I would have known that we wouldn't have been performing for a year and a bit, I would have gone so much harder at my last show. Like I would have been like smashing my head in the fucking with the mic and like screaming in people's faces. Like I did not go. I that's probably one of the only regrets in my life is I didn't go as hard as I could have at the last show before COVID, because now I'm like, I feel like I'm like in withdrawals from performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's nothing that can like video games, nothing can take the pleasure from performing. So
it's weird because I feel like our last show like that where there was a crowd there, that it almost seems to be my only memory of ever playing a show in my life. Anytime I think about playing a show, I just immediately like, oh yeah, that one time I played there.
Yeah.
I was like, can I remember this time that I played at this venue? Oh, barely. That seems so
long
ago.
A different era.
A different era. Yeah.
You know, I'm honestly so stoked, and I definitely like if you guys are planning to ever come to BC, like hit Vancouver and stuff, let us know because we'll definitely help set up the shows and perform with you.
Cool.
And we'll make it an all category kind of show, because I know punk rock bands I'd love to play with punk bands. I'm a punk guy at heart, so
yeah, punks actually. Anytime I've done a show with punk bands or in a punk scene, it's always been amazing.
That's because punk guys just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they are always cool.
They're the only group of people who look at a band that is punk and be like, I don't care how technical he is. It's just like, how loud can you scream and how fast can you play? And like, I fucking love punk rock. It's my favorite thing ever. One of my favorite bands is No Effects, and like, fuck yeah, Fat Mike's the shit. He wears a dress on stage. You know what I mean? Like, the dude's a legend. And I think punk rock is like, I think it kept the real rock stars alive at the moment, because like even metal bands right now are like the pretty boys. They all have to look a certain way. Punk guys just don't give a fuck. Like, it's just, I think that's what's missing in music, is that fuck you mentality that we used to have as rock stars back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, go to a venue, fuck the show up, go to the hotel, trash it, and then like leave and go to the next show. It's like, what happened to that? That's what made people love us, because we were crazy as fuck. And then now we're like sitting in front of computers with tea, drinking tea and making songs. And it's like,
well, shit, I know a promoter who was trying to book some punk shows in this area, and most of them don't have a social media presence. So she's like, how do I get in touch with these people? It's like, well, you just got to find them.
You just got to go into the gutter and you'll find them.
Leave your phone number on top of the urinal.
Yeah,
exactly.
For a good time.
Yeah.
Or a good time, call on stage.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
They're not sitting around caring about their Instagram likes. They're just doing shows and having fun.
My favorite, honestly, like my favorite group of musicians and type of musicians that are out there right now are like these fucking punk folk artists. Like I don't know if you guys ever heard of Bridge City Sinners or like Amigo the Devil. Like these guys are fucking so cool, and they're just like complete renegades. They have no fucking limits to what they'll do, and they are the rock stars in my mind. Like right now, they're like,
he got me into Amigo the Devil, and I can't stop.
Like he's so talented, and you then like everybody that works with them, you're just like, I almost call them like homeless punk, because a lot of them are homeless, but they don't give a fuck. Like they don't care about their image. They're writing great music, and they're getting big now. So it's just I think it takes time, dedication, and if you ask any band ever, they didn't make it within a year, and if they did, they didn't last, because it doesn't come that naturally. It doesn't come that easy. Like it just doesn't. It takes blood, sweat, and tears and years of being in a band, especially nowadays. I think I definitely think
what I've got to say about punk rockers is I think that the dynamic of age when it comes to the punk scene here versus the metal scene, because there's like very clearly a distinction between genres of old metalheads here and young metalheads. But with punk, it's like an all age. You'll see a 60-year-old playing in a band with 12-year-olds. Like it's not going to be uncommon. Like, but when it comes to a metalhead, there's gonna, like an older metal band might have like one guy that's maybe in his 20s. Or
he's the drummer.
Yeah.
Always the drummer who's the youngest.
Y'all are hard to find.
We were joking about that earlier. I was like, every band usually replaces the drummer at one point for like a younger drummer. Like Megadeth did it with Lamb of God, and Lamb of God did it, and Megadeth replaced their old drummer with Lamb of God's old drummer, who replaced with a younger guy. So it was a funny thing what we were talking about, but it's true. It happens.
Happened to Spinal Tap. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's just a natural thing. You lose members, and I mean, some people just get old and slow. I mean, look at Lars. The guy can't even fucking play his songs anymore. It's so funny. My favorite thing to do if I'm bored is just like watch Lars fails on YouTube. Just like it's so good, because it's like he's terrible. He's just shit now.
Well, and then you look at some other drummers. Yeah, you look at some other older drummers that are like, I think Tool's drummer Danny Carey is amazing, and he's older than Lars.
Danny Carey is my inspiration besides Neil Peart.
I think he's incredible.
Yeah, Neil Peart, Thomas Lang, and Danny Carey are my three tops, and then you go Tony Royster and then Thomas Pridgeon. Like they're just solid fucking drummers, man. And then you got Matt from Animals as Leaders, and he's the next level.
I like John Paul Gaster from Clutch. He's so good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of drummers are underrated. Like you always hear about like, oh, guitar gods, but it's like never hear of a drum god. Like if people looked up Tony Royster, they'd be fucking mind blown. You know what I mean? Like dude is so incredibly fast and skilled.
And then Tony Royster when he was 8.
Yeah, like legit. He was like 12 years old doing crazy famous drum solos. He's the reason I got into drums. Quite literally, I saw that.
Player, but my favorite drummer is the Porcupine Tree drummer, Gavin Harris.
Dude, you know Porcupine Tree?
I love Porcupine Tree. Dude. I've been trying so hard to get Josh in a Porcupine Tree.
Oh my god.
I just don't get it, man.
You're the only, there's one other guy who introduced me to Porcupine Tree, and you're the only other person I've ever heard that knows them. That is like, yes, that I got goosebumps. That's awesome.
Frog is my thing now.
Such an amazing drummer. It's like, fuck. It's cool when you can like I mean, like I just said, right? We're musicians falling. We have love for other drummers and other musicians. It's like, that needs to come back from the fans. I miss that. I think that's what made me love music, because I was always such a fanboy for music. And now I get to like meet new bands and listen to the best music. And I'm like, I couldn't have a better life right now at this point. Like I literally have an addiction to finding the newest band. And I've listened and met so many wicked bands, and our networking is like, I love it. It's such a cool thing to see musicians with musicians.
Yeah. I think that's probably what'll keep it alive, is musicians supporting and listening to other musicians and going, and if that's who we're writing music for, then hey.
Yeah. I mean, eventually somebody will, it just takes that one person to hear your song and be like, you know what, fuck, we're signing them, or I want to work with them, kind of a thing. And I think that's a big deterrent for people, is just that time and commitment you put in and waiting. There's a lot of waiting in a band. Like,
Yeah.
waiting on
Do
your
you feel-
mixes.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
feel like you've found more artists and discovered newer music now during the pandemic than you have prior to this? I feel like it's given me a lot of time to
Yeah.
explore new artists.
I'm also lucky because we created this less than a month ago. On the 10th, it'll be our first month, and it was just to help because like I've been trying to get our band out there and get likes and do all this stupid bullshit for promoters, but there was nowhere to go. Like there's a couple small radio stations you can apply to, a couple small magazines, but every big one that I had messaged wouldn't give us any time of day because we didn't have those likes. So I said, you know what, fuck it, Norman, like let's just create a podcast, YouTube channel for emerging artists. Like somebody's got 100,000 likes, we don't really need to talk to them, they're established. We want to talk to the new upcoming, the soon to be great bands, you know what I mean? Like everyone we've talked to has what it takes, and I find the ones who are willing to email us and go out of their comfort zone for our podcast are the ones who are marketing for themselves, the ones who are being completely independent and making it their own career. So you definitely see who's willing to do what it takes through meeting the bands in an interview like this. I think that's why we kind of do it, and the way it's molded out is so that people see it, they see you, they get to know who you are, and then they're like, man, you know what, like I fucking support those guys instantly. Yeah. So it's we're building a community and networking so that you guys have somewhere to come up here and play, or you can go down to Texas and play. Like we just want to build that community again because it's lacking in whether it's punk, rock, metal. I think just musicians, because people who play instruments have had to they've been so separated. It's weird. It's a weird time because we used to all I remember when we grew up, your band would play rock stuff, the Pasties would play fucking heavier shit, and then we'd have sci-fi, and they played Death Cab for Cutie kind of. I want to say because the lead singer Josh had a wicked voice like that, but we'd all play all three different types of genres, all three different bands in the same little venue, and everybody would have their own little group, but everyone enjoyed it. Then you got to see the other bands, and that's missing now. I think that the whole clickiness and elitist aspect in music just needs to die.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. I really like the fact that everyone in this band has a core root of what this project is, what it means to them, and we all kind of have a love for this style of music, but each of us have loves for completely other different genres, and it's fun to go on road trips and listen to everybody else's. I mean, I like country, and not so much for them, but if I'm driving, I'm gonna listen to it, and every now and again it's like, oh, okay, that's not bad, and then someone else will be driving, and it's fun to just explore new music, and that's what I like about music.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes every member has to be into it and has to have that same view. If you don't have the same view, you're just wasting time, because you're just sitting there beating a dead horse. You know what I mean? You're trying to change something where there's other members who don't want to change that. Then either move with it or move along.
Well, and that's one thing I like, because I've been, at one point I was in 3 active bands at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so this has also been a huge shock to me, going from being in 3 bands at the same time, doing shows almost every other weekend, to no shows.
Yeah.
But what I like most about this band is that the work ethic, how much we want to work, putting together a tour, all that stuff. We're really dedicated in this band on actually doing that. And each member's dedicated in their own different way of doing some aspect of this project, whether it's booking or running the merch or whatever.
Yeah, everyone has to wear a hat, or at least switch up hats eventually. And I think that definitely shows who's invested in your band, is the people who wear the hats, do all the work, and the people who don't wear the hats usually fall behind. And that's when it comes to a tour or studio work, that's usually when bands lose a member, is dedication.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, that's why our original drummer is no longer here, is because he didn't want to tour, he didn't want to put in the time, he just wanted to play local shows all the time.
Yeah.
And so It's the reason our original bass player's not here. He didn't want to put in the time. He wasn't playing shows and getting that payoff, so he didn't want to show up for practice and put in the work in the meantime.
Yeah.
So and it's a bummer. They're cool dudes. I got no problem with them. But
yeah, and that's always the thing is you never really have a hate for an ex-member. It's more just like this is our future, that's your future.
Sorry, it didn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been through fucking handfuls of bands, all different types. Like, I got tired of bands because they kept breaking up and went to hip hop because it was just me. And then I was like touring with like Snack and doing shows with Snack and Mercules, and I got like tired of that because hip hop is so cutthroat. Like, it's just constantly like, but diss tracks and attacking each other, and I'm like, I miss the band mentality. So, it is crazy to see who's dedicated and who's not, but it's also cool to see how that changes and progresses, and some people will change during the process of it. Like, they'll be wholeheartedly into it at first, and then all of a sudden they think the music goes one way, and then all of a sudden your style that you create as a band isn't necessarily what they want, and then they move on, right? It happened with Megadeth with Marty Friedman. He left eventually because he wanted to do experimental. It happens. So I think finding your solid core group is such a perfect thing and such an important thing, because like you're with these people, you're stuck in a van for how many hours a day if you're on tour. You got to be able to hang out with each other.
Yeah, I think it's super weird because like I always had this mindset on what I wanted to do. I mean, I've been playing music live in the Spokane area since 2006, and I was in like a freshman in high school, and like right under my nose, like I went to the same high school in Idaho with Michael, and then like over time I've been through band, and then I was fronting a band and playing guitar in this band and playing bass in that band, and then eventually I wasn't doing anything. I was with another band and I decided to leave them to join this, and Mike's like, you want to do that or you want to do this? And I like started thinking about it. It's like, I've known him way longer than I've known anyone else that I've worked in the last like 5 years. So yeah, this feels like home. Like,
yeah, I think we're going on 25 years of friendship, something like that.
Yeah.
And we've been performing since I think you were in Foreshadow in like 12.
Yeah,
11,
like
12, yeah.
2002 or 2003.
Yeah, like we've been performing since we were like babies basically, and like could barely touch an instrument, and then like I auditioned for this band and he walked in the room and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing here? And the rest of the guys are like, you guys know each other? We're like, oh my god, we've been together, we've been friends since kindergarten, like we've known each other forever. I was 5 years old when I met him. So it's so funny that we're in a band now and like own a podcast together. It's just it's almost just like fate, you know what I mean? You meet people and at the perfect time it clicks, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, we all look at Mike. What you would say? You want to say?
Mike, say something.
If Dale was here, we'd be like doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for having us, guys. I appreciate you having us on the show, and
thanks for coming on. It was I've been stoked to talk to you guys since Josh sent in the audition or the submission. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm stoked. You guys, I loved your music, and I had a feeling, and I won that you guys were young and like us, so that we could connect on that
geek out a little bit.
Yeah, at the same level, right? Because we understand where we've all grown up in the same music scene, like the timeline, and watched it change. And I definitely think the community is missing, and I think building it up again is a smart thing for everyone, whether all over the world. Yeah.
And if you guys come down here, opera stands like you guys gave to us, if you come down here, let us know.
Yeah. I definitely want to. I think Spokane and Seattle are two places I definitely want to play, and I've always wanted to go down the West Coast. That's the East Coast seems a little too far for me right now, unless I want to go all the way across the ocean. But I definitely want to come down that way because I want to rock Seattle eventually. I think that would be a fucking wicked place to rock.
Yeah, there's some cool places over there.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. When you guys release your album, let us know and we'll have you back on, and we'll do a spotlight on that.
Cool.
All right, guys. You stay safe, and we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Thanks, boys. See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date on all the fucking good shit we got going on.